Rob, you brought this up with Eric Mangini about Patrick Mahomes, and we all know having a down year for him. He's still like in the top 5 in passing yards and the top 5 in touchdowns. So not having a horrible year by any stretch, but for him, he's been down. And there's a lot of talk about why. And he was asked about it this week as they head into their game with the Raiders. Here's what he said.
I mean, it just happens. It's part of football. Luckily enough, our defense is playing good enough that whenever they've happened, they've been able to get stopped and get turnovers or whatever it is and not let it impact the team. But you understand that turnovers are a huge part of this game. Luckily, our defense is getting a lot of turnovers, and we're still winning that turnover battle. But I'll try to limit them as much as possible. But at the same time, I have to be me, and I have to continue to throw the football and give guys chances to make plays.
He's talking about his interceptions.
Who has a voice that doesn't match. Like, that voice doesn't sound like when I look at him. Like what?
Like he looks?
Yeah. Would you agree or no?
I've never thought about it.
To me, he looks like he's got a little more flavor. Like he sounds plain Jane to me on this. You know, like he doesn't have any kind of like flavor, no hot sauce, just a regular
His game's got flavor, though.
No, I know, and that's why I'm saying it doesn't match. That's what exactly.
There's some brothers out there that sound like that.
Okay.
Without
I'm just
flavor.
asking. Go ahead.
Yeah. Did Mike Tyson sound like he'd knock you out?
No, Mike Tyson didn't fit, Chris. And I'm glad you brought Mike Tyson up because the first time I heard him talk, I was floored.
I was ready to I can beat this guy, right?
I can beat this guy. This creamsicle, I can beat him.
But here he was talking about Rob the turnovers, and obviously he's had a career high 12 in 12 games. But look, let me throw this out there first, because I got comments on it. Justin Herbert's got 11 interceptions. Josh Allen 10, Joe Burrow 14, Matt Ryan 11, Lamar Jackson 13. Ryan Tannehill, 13. So, it's not like he's got some astronomical amount of turnovers that, is blowing away the league. Tom Brady's got 10 interceptions. And so, but like I said, his standards have become very high, understandably so, and he hasn't played up to them. I think he would even admit that. But, Rob, ultimately, I think what you and I want to get to, and we may disagree on it, his comment that I have to be me. I agree. Like, look, he does have to adjust a little bit. We've talked about it. If they're playing, cover 2, as Mangini was talking about, in 2 high safeties, take what's underneath. Every pass to Tyreek Hill doesn't have to be, a long bomb or fly pattern or whatever. Go underneath to him and Kelsey and your running backs. Take the light stuff that they give you, and that'll open up the big stuff here or there. He does have to adjust to all that. Everything doesn't have to be a sidearm pass, a no look, all that stuff. But ultimately, Rob, he's got to be himself. It's like if Steph Curry goes through a shooting slump, you're not going to say, Steph, why don't you stop taking so many threes? Why don't you go to the rim more, shoot a 15-footer? Yeah, you can adjust a little bit like that, but ultimately he's got to be himself, Rob, and shoot off-balance, awkward threes that for most people would be a bad shot. And so ultimately I agree with what Mahomes is saying because, Rob, you don't want him to become too cautious and then you lose what's special about him. It's like Lamar. Okay, yeah, Lamar's got to, throw the ball outside the numbers. He's got to stay in the pocket a little better. He's got things he can work on. But I also don't want to just totally take away his running ability, his threat with his legs. That's what makes him so dynamic. So, Rob, I get what Mahomes is saying, and I think it's the right attitude.
I think that, as you progress and you get better and get older, you need to make adjustments. And I think Mahomes is wrong here, and I'll tell you why.
Wow.
I think he's wrong, Chris. Not that I want him to be ultra-conservative and never try to force the issue on a big play or try to make something happen.
Okay.
But he got away with a lot of that bad stuff. That people are talking about his fundamentals and his footwork and stuff that because it worked and because people didn't grab all the interceptions. You remember the number we talked about before? They already had this on their radar. Who else did we have on who said this is the stuff he did at Texas Tech?
I think that was Randy Mueller.
Who was that? Who said he did this?
Randy Mueller, I believe.
Right, at Texas Tech. This is not like new. So you have to progress at some point and realize, okay, I just can't fling the ball around. I can't be cute on every play. I'm not saying, Chris, to totally abandon everything that was successful for you. But if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're apt to keep doing them. And it stopped for a while with the interceptions and the turnovers, right? Remember, he had like 7 games in a row with a turnover or interception. And that stopped for a while, and he had one this past week. But I think making some adjustments to your game, there's nothing wrong with that. I really believe that the best players make adjustments as time goes on. And I think that's where we are with him. You got a lot of great things, got great arm, great ability, escapability, all these things that make him a great quarterback. But he does need to reel some things in. And there are plays, Chris, where you can make that same throw without it being a side underarm or, you know what I mean? Like you can deliver that same ball without it being cute or without the mustard. How about trying, Patrick, a hot dog without mustard every once in a while? Is that okay?
Listen to Mr. Conservative. Mr. Do everything by the book.
You know me. I'm conservative. I'm not trashing him. You don't think I got any valid points there?
No. I was gonna say I don't think you and I are really saying I don't think we're saying different things.
Right. Okay.
I agree. He does have to make some adjustments, but ultimately he's got to be himself. And I think you were saying the same thing too.
I said that. I don't want him to be like pedestrian and never try to make something happen. Not like that. But he can avoid some of the stuff. Like I said, if you can make that same pass in the flat, Chris, right, without it being underarm or sidearm or whatever, do it.
Right. Well, and I think a couple things. I think, one, a lot of players in any sport, Rob, who are special do things in an unorthodox manner. So when you bring up the fundamentals, and you're right, Randy Mueller brought it up. A lot of commentators and pundits have brought up his fundamentals or lack thereof.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. A lot of the best players in various sports, their fundamentals weren't necessarily the great. Steph Curry, and I just brought him up, but Rob, the shooting, the shots he takes aren't fundamentally sound shots.
No, Chris.
Right?
Had he missed early on in his career when he was pulling up, if those shots, just say he missed a few of those and they weren't going in at the high rate, coaches would have pulled back and said, dude, stop. You know what I mean? Like, he was able to.
Well, he had a Mark Jackson, you're right, who encouraged him to shoot. Right. But LeBron, got players that you can talk about a lot of point guards, right? When you play basketball, you know this. They teach you don't jump in the air and then make a pass.
Right.
Right. But we see so many great players do that. All right. And you don't take that away. In football, you watched him. Barry Sanders.
Yep.
Football, I was a running back when I was playing football younger. They tell you hit that hole quick. Go hit that hole. But Barry Sanders was dancing at the line of scrimmage. Le'Veon Bell was not nearly as good as Barry Sanders, but when he was in his heyday, Rob, he's dancing at the line of scrimmage looking for the hole rather than just hitting it where the play calls for you to go. And so Reggie Miller, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Look at his form, Rob.
Right.
So
it's not picture perfect at all.
Right. So I just think that there are geniuses out there, if I can use that word, that do things in an unorthodox way. And when it works, you got to let it go and let them be them with, while trying your best to get them to understand that sometimes you got to do it this way, temper it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what you and I are both are saying about Mahomes. But ultimately, don't change who you are.
No, I'm with you. And I think 877-99 on Fox. I think that he has to make some adjustments, but not totally change who he is or was, Chris, when he was having success.